hours.
Elementary Algebra, Final Assessment 2, Review, questions 14 through 16.
So now we can take this time and plug in units.
In question
and
14, the instructions read, solve the problem. Question 14
we'll go
says,
into
under
448,
typical conditions, 1/2 1.5 feet of snow will melt to 2 inches of water.
miles
to how many inches of water
per
will 2 1/4
hour
feet of snow melt? To solve this problem, we'll set up a proportion.
So the rate
we already
is equal
know
to 56
that 1
miles
1/2
per hour.
feet of snow will melt to 2
In the instructions
inches.
for number 13, we're told to tell
On the
which
other
brand
side,
is the better
we know
buy.
we want to know how
So
many
we have
inches
a brand
of
A,
water
which
will
has
2
18
1/4
ounces
feet of snow.
for $13.32,
1.5,
brand
which is
B,
the feet of snow on the top
which has
here.
15 ounces
So we'll
for
match it
$10.95.
with the 2 1/4 feet
We need
of
to
snow
figure
on the
out
other side.
how
What
many,
we don't know is
how much it costs
how much
per
water that'll melt
ounce.
to, and into how many inches.
So we're
So
going
we
to
set
set
up
the
a
formula.
cross multiplication.
Brand A being equal to the cost, which is
With 2 times 2
$13.32
and 1/4
divided by
equals
18
1 1/2
ounces.
times
We're
X.
going to divide the 18 into 13.32.
Let's go ahead and
This is going to
simplify
tell
this
us
problem.
how much it
First,
costs per 1
we'll
ounce.
take
This is creating
the
a
mixed
unit
number
ratio,
and turn it
a
into
comparison
an improper fraction.
of one value,
We'll take the 2 times the 4 to get
in this
8,
case,
and sum to that to
cost
1, which gets us
to
9.
1 unit.
Place
in
that
this
over
case,
the
1
original
ounce.
divisor, which was 4.
This gives
So
us
we end up with 9/4 to be multiplied
total
to 2
of 74 cents
On the other side,
per
we'll take this 1
ounce.
times the 2, sum
We're
to
going to do the
that
same for
the
brand
1
B.
to create 3. Put this over the original divisor,
We're going to
2.
take the $10.95
So we end up with 3 over 2.
and divide it by
X.
the 15 ounces.
Let's start to simplify
This
this.
gives
Let's
us
multiply these together. Before we do, we can see by looking
73
across that the
cents
2 and the 4
per
can both be
ounce.
divided by a 2. So 2
So now
divided
when
by
we
2
compare the
is
two,
1. 4
brand A
divided by
is
2
74 cents per 1 ounce,
is 2.
and brand B is 73
So now I
cents
have a 1 times
per
a 9
1 ounce.
for 9.
That means that
1
brand B
times a 2 for 2. So I have 9 over 2
is the better buy.
equals 3 over 2 x. Now I need to get that 3 over 2 to the other side. I'll multiply by its inverse on both sides to clear the fraction. So 2/3, 2/3. This clears the fraction off the right side. This leaves me with the left side, with the 2/3 times a 9 over 2. Before I multiply them, again, I'm going to look across to see if I can do any reverse reducing. A 2 and a 2, they both can be divided by 2, so 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 into 2 one time. Looking at the 3 to the 9, a 3 goes into both. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 9 3 times. So I'm left with 1 times 3, 1 times 1, equals, on the other side, x. So what I see is that x is equal to 3. I'm not quite done, however. When we look back at the original, if you look back at the original problem, you see that it's asking how many inches. This is in inches, so the final answer does need its units, which are 3 inches. So 3 inches will be the final answer. Question number 15 reads, if a boat uses 18 gallons of gas to go 61 miles, how many miles can the boat travel on 54 gallons of gas? Again, we'll set up a proportion problem. We know that this boat can go on 18 gallons, 61 miles. So on the other side of the proportion, I have gallons in the top and miles in the bottom, so I read to see what I have available. It says, how many miles can the boat travel on 54 gallons? Gallons are in the top, so I put the 54 in the top. I don't know are how many miles, so I'll put that in the bottom. I'll put a variable x. Let's cross multiply to solve the problem. So I'll cross multiply. I get 61 times 54 on one side. The other side, I cross multiply, I get 18x. So 61 times 54, I get 3,294 equals 18x. Now, I'll divide both sides by the 18 to clear the 18 from the variable. So I'm left with x being equal to 183. Again, this is a number that has units. If I look back, that x was in miles. So I have 183 miles. That's how far this boat can travel on 54 gallons of gas. For question number 16, it reads, find any missing lengths in the similar figures. So looking here, I have two similar figures, one large and one small. In the larger one, I have the values for all the sides. I have 6, 12, 9, and 6. On the smaller, I'm missing the values on the left side, x, and on the right side, y. So I'll set up proportion problems to solve for both. Let's, however, start with problem x. We want to know what x is equal to. Well, in this one, we can solve without math. In the larger figure, the x place equals a 6. It also equals a 6 in the bottom. That means if we look at the equivalent, since the bottom is 3, the x here must also be 3. So in this problem, x is equal to 3. For y, however, we need to set up a proportion problem to figure out what y is equal to. To do this, let's start by looking at the smaller one. We want to solve for y, so in my proportion, I'll start by writing down what I want to solve for, in this case, the y. Then I'll come in and pick a side that actually has a value. I can take the 3 or the 6. I'm only going to take the 3 because it's a smaller number, and in math it's best to go for the smaller numbers. It's going to make the math a little bit easier in the end. So on the other side of the proportion, I just want to make sure that everything pulls from the same position on the larger as it did from the smaller image. So in the y position on the smaller image, there's a 9 on the larger. So in that same position, in the top of my fraction, I'll put the 9. That 3 came from the bottom on the smaller, so I'll take the 6 from the bottom on the larger image. Now I'm ready for a cross multiplication. I'll take that 3 times the 9 to the left, and on the right I'll take that 6 times y. So let's simplify. 3 times 9 is going to equal 27 to the 6y. Now I use the multiplication principle of equality to move the 6. It's multiplying by a 6, so to get it out, I'll do the opposite and I'll divide. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other. So the 6 clears, and I'm left with y being equal to 4.5. So my answers in this problem are going to be x is equal to 3, y is equal to 4.5. If I look back at my images, there weren't any units, so I can leave these without units.